Hello everyone and welcome to another incredible game from round 9 of this year's Tata Steel Chess Tournament. It is Nodirbek Abdusattorov versus Jorden from Foreest, both of them very well known in the Tata Steel community, and both of them, we could say, rivals already, or even within the Tata Steel community, as of course Nodirbek Abdusattorov last year, Anish Giri won first place, but Nodirbek tied with Magnus Carlsen for second place with 8 points. Anish won sole first with 8.5 points, but it was Jorden from Foreest who defeated Nodirbek in the final round of last year's Tata Steel tournament, and Jorden also was a champion of Tata Steel himself in 2021, so it's definitely a great fight. Jorden would very much like to repeat his success at winning first place in Tata Steel, and Nodirbek will definitely try to exact his revenge for last year in the final round towards Jorden. So let's see what happened in this one. Really a wild game. Already a decisive error has been made on move 10, and you guys will have one of the most difficult pause the video moments that you have ever seen. So let's check it out. Nodirbek with the white pieces opens with e4. We have pawn to e5 by Jorden, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. The Italian game is on the board. Knight to f6, the two knights defense, but now not knight g5 like in the Prague game. Pawn to d3, the modern bishop's opening, and here okay, a lot of moves can be played. You can play a6, h6. Top moves are bishop to e7, bishop to c7. But Jorden goes for the immediate pawn to d5. And it's okay, you can play it, but on the absolute top level, it is very rare. And okay, e captures on d5, knight captures, we have castles, and bishop to e7, rook to e1, putting pressure on that e5 pawn, and here just pawn to f6, defending the e5 pawn, which means that this bishop will be a problem, or could be a problem for the black king if you are ever hoping to castle, or it also just means that Jorden will develop the bishop, the queen, and castle queen side. So let's see what happened here. There is a game, and I believe this is one of the reasons why maybe Jorden tried playing this game, is that Jorden already played this game. However, he had the white pieces. He played it in 2022 against Arjun Erigaisi, and their game ended in a draw, and in that game Jorden continued with pawn to d4. But here Nodirbek goes bishop to b3, and it is now already as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. And if you remember, in the beginning of the video I said that we will have a huge error on move 10. That means completely new game on move 8 and a huge error on move 10. But let's see how that happened, how the error happened. We have pawn to a5. Of course, you would very much enjoy playing pawn to a4 and getting rid of this bishop, so you can finally maybe castle. Pawn to c3, of course, makes perfect sense, and now knight to b6. Again, a4 will be played, nothing spectacular here. And here we have knight to h4, a very, very tricky move, and it's not easy to figure out how to deal with this. The threat, of course, is queen to h5 check. Black will not be able to play g6 because you will capture on g6 with the knight, and then, of course, h captures is impossible because queen will capture rook. So that's the threat here. But how to play this position? Well, you either play pawn to a4 right away, and this is a crucial move to even play this position with black, or you go for this queen to d7, but unless you know this line, you're not going to find it over the board. Point is that now queen to h5, although one of the top moves recommended by the engine, doesn't really do all that much. You're just going to play king to d8, and your king is very, very happy here. And now if, for example, pawn to a4, okay, you've stopped pawn to a4 by black, but now comes queen to g4, and already queens get traded off. For example, captures, and the game continues. Nothing spectacular happening here. However, in the game after knight to h4, it seems that Jorden either mixed his lines, or maybe he never even saw this position, but he played pawn to g6. He actively stopped queen to h5 from happening, and this is a grave mistake, but I'm not going to tell you why. Feel free to pause the video and try to find the absolute best move for white while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on paying attention to what I've been saying, and for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is pawn to a4. Beautiful, beautiful positional idea, stopping a4 from black, which means that this bishop will remain here for as long as white wants. And also you've played knight to a5, you've played a5, so you don't have the option of going knight to a5 to further harass the bishop. So how is Jorden to develop his pieces now? Let's try to figure out a way. In the game, bishop to d6 was played, but okay, let's try and play something. f5 looks like a very active idea. Knight f3. Going after the pawn. So, okay, you can defend the pawn, bishop to f6 or bishop d6, doesn't really matter. You're going to play knight to a3. The knight is now coming to b5, and there's no real way for you to develop. For example, you play queen to e7 with the idea, okay, I'll just play bishop to e6, eliminate the bishop, castle, queenside, life is good. Not so fast. Knight to b5. And now you don't have a move. You don't have a move on the entire board. You can't play bishop to e6 because white can just trade, and then knight captures on c7 with check, wins the game. You cannot play bishop to d7 because then the queen no longer guards the c7 pawn. Knight captures on c7 check, again wins the game. So this is pointless. So you can't play something like this. You can't castle kingside. The bishop is too powerful. You cannot develop the bishop. How do you develop the bishop? You can play bishop to d7, but then your queen is just hemmed in. How do you develop the queen? So Jorden figured he'd play bishop to d6, and now of course the black king is in the center of the board. Nodirbek strikes with pawn to d4. We have queen to e7. Now bishop to e3. Not rushing anything because you don't need to rush anything. Bishop to d7, and now d captures on e5. F captures on e5, and now knight back to f3. So what do you play now? It seems like maybe castling queenside is possible here. And well, it is possible. Again, not much to look at. Knight to g5 is coming, and all sorts of nasty threats on the board, like knight to f7 just goes after everything. And even if you stop that, let's say you go something like rook to f8, then comes knight to e4, and again, really bad position for black. Not much to look for here. What can you play? Also, bishop to g5 will be extremely annoying going after that black queen. Look at all of these squares covered. The bishop covers this diagonal. It will be a positional cramping masterpiece. So instead, h6 was played, but it doesn't help. Knight b to d2. We have queenside castles, and now knight to e4. Okay, you've successfully castled, but still, how do you play this? Bishop to f5. Now comes knight f to d2. Knight to d7. Now comes bishop to d5. Just with the threat of bishop captures knight, and then black's queenside is completely ruined. The queen can easily join the attack. And here, if you go knight c to b8, then knight to c4 just goes after the a5 pawn. And what do you play here? Okay, you can trade once here, for example, captures, and b6, but then queen to d5. And yeah, this is pretty much resigns time. So instead, after bishop d5, knight to c5 was played, inviting bishop captures on c6. But now Nodirbek doesn't rush it. He just plays queen to e2. He knows that he will always be able to play this, but he wants to have the queen on this diagonal ready after he kicks away the knight with pawn to b4. So knight to b8, stopping the capture. Now rook a to d1. We have knight b to a6, and of course now knight captures on d6, eliminating the bishop. C captures, and now knight to c4. Again, just going after that a5 pawn. Queen to c7 defending, and here Nodirbek played queen to d2, and he was in this position on move 24 with equal material on the board that Jorden van Foreest resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Also, Nodirbek had like an hour on the clock, some 58 minutes, and Jorden was already down to 15 minutes on the clock. So it seems like definitely a premature resignation, especially with equal material on the board. I mean, of course, you can always hope that your opponent makes a mistake, but I guess Jorden just figured, no, that this is completely unplayable. And I will show you why it's completely unplayable. What do you play here with black? Okay, you could go after the white queen. You could play something like knight to e4 or knight to b3. This is even the top move recommended by the engine. So let's say as of this moment that Jorden plays all the top moves recommended by the engine. How can you beat it? Okay, queen e2. You just move the queen, nothing happening there, and you can even activate the knight. But now you start going after that weak king side. The b5 square is yours. Okay, bishop to d7. Black can stop this. You eliminate some material from the board. Bishop captures, knight captures. Now knight to b5. And okay, here you have to trade. Bishop captures, queen captures. You are attacking the knight. So what's with the knight here? The knight has to go back, knight to c5. Now you play pawn to b4, and it's all about this pawn to b4 move, pretty much however black plays it. Knight to d7. Now pawn to h3, you create some breathing room for the white king before you continue the attack. Let's say rook h to f8, b captures on a5, and after something like knight to c5, you will play rook to d5, and all of the tactics now work in white's favor. This is game over. For example, queen to c6. You can even play rook captures on d6. And that's it. Okay, rook captures on d6. You will play bishop captures on c5. Nicely connect with the rooks, and it doesn't matter if queens get traded off or not. Probably they would. King to d7. You will eliminate the rook here. King captures. Now pawn to a6. You're up 2 pawns, of course, completely winning. But this is, like I said, only if Jorden plays the absolute best top engine move in any given position, which is extremely hard to do when you know your loss, when you know your position is so bad that you would just resign, which Jorden did. If your position is good, you will make the effort. You will look for moves. You will waste time. And another thing, Jorden was already down to 15 minutes on the clock, and he needed to make 14 more moves to reach time control. So he just, I'm positive that he was so disgusted with this position that he said, "All right, no, let's not play this. Good game. Your revenge was served. Very cold, good sir. I resign." So yeah, very nicely done by Nodirbek, and I don't know if all of the games have been finished from this round. Let me just check quickly if they have. Oh, okay, so all of the games have finished. So I will now mention what happened in round 9. If you guys don't want anything spoiled, don't watch the video anymore. So Donchenko defeated Alireza Firouzja. It was a really wild game, and if I manage the time, I will definitely show it. Ding and Danish drew their game fairly quickly. Gukesh and Vidit also drew their game. Maxulu defeated Max Varmedam, and I think it was actually Max who was playing for the win the entire game. I have no idea what happened there in the end. Abdusattorov defeated Jorden, like we've seen here. Wijk defeated Jan Nepomniachtchi. It was also a crazy game. So I will probably have to choose between Wijk, Nepo, and Donchenko, Alireza Firouzja. If you have preferences, do use hashtag suggestion in the comments. And Pregnananda defeated Juvenjun. If you haven't seen it, the previous video that I made, also, definitely want to check out. But yeah, queen to d2, like I said, 24 moves, equal material. Resignation followed. Definitely not premature. Jorden respects Nodirbek enough to resign in this position on 24 moves. Some of the older players, they would probably be like, I don't want to be everywhere online that I lost in a miniature, but not Jorden. He is the one of the heroes of Wijk, and he doesn't mind such things. So yeah, once again, hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Len Herbert, Yun Young, an anonymous person, Ulem Se, and Christopher and Ruth Burkett for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.